There is a specific texture to the silence that settles in a room after a party ends. Not the immediate silence of guests leaving, but the silence that lingers 20 years later. In the American Pie universe, we often look at the noise. We look at the parties, the toasts, the frantic energy of trying to lose something. Virginity, inhibition, control. But if you look long enough at the edges of the frame, you start to notice something else. You notice the one element that refuses to metabolize time. We are conditioned to view consistency as a virtue. We praise the rock that withstands the river. But in the human experience, the rock isn't noble. It's just eroding slower than everything else. When we revisit this universe, the geography remains the same. The houses are the same. The lawns are manicured with the same suburban precision. But the people occupying those spaces have mutated. They have acquired wrinkles, mortgages, divorces, and the heavy, quiet dignity of compromise. Except for one. Stifler stands in this timeline like a glitch. He is the high school senior who never graduated from his own self-image. And while the initial reaction might be to laugh at the man-child, if you strip away the laugh track, what you are left with is a profound, almost gothic melancholy. It is the melancholy of a museum exhibit that doesn't know the museum has closed. There is a question that hovers over this stagnation, one that we usually avoid asking because the answer is too close to our own anxieties. We tell ourselves that we change because we want to. We tell ourselves that we grew up because we chose maturity over hedonism. But is that true? Or did we change simply because we couldn't sustain the energy required to remain the same? To stay exactly who you were at 18 requires a terrifying amount of effort. It requires a rigorous denial of reality. It requires you to build a fortress against every lesson the world tries to teach you. So the question isn't, why hasn't he grown up? The question is, what is he so afraid of becoming that he would rather freeze in time than take a single step forward? There is a suspicion that perhaps he isn't a failure. Perhaps he is the only one who kept the promise everyone else broke. The promise to never become boring. To never become them. But the tragedy of keeping that promise is that you eventually find yourself keeping it alone. Is it better to betray your younger self to survive, or to honor him until you become a ghost in your own life? Watch the eyes. Not when he is shouting, not when he is performing the alpha male caricature for a room full of people who are no longer listening. Watch the eyes in the microseconds between the jokes. There is a scene, or perhaps just a recurring moment across the timeline, where the group reunites. They are talking about 401ks, about the exhaustion of parenting, about the dull ache of being an adult. Stifler enters. He brings the same energy he had in 1999. He has the same beer cup, the same cadence, the same insults. But look at the reaction. 20 years ago, that energy was the engine of the night. It was magnetic. Now you see a subtle shift in the posture of his friends. A slight leaning away, a polite, tight-lipped smile that doesn't reach the eyes. They are checking their watches. And in that split second, Stifler sees it. You can see the flicker of panic. It's the realization that his currency has devalued. The transaction, I provide the chaos, you provide the admiration, has been cancelled. He takes a sip of the beer, not because he's thirsty, but to cover the silence. He laughs a little too loud, trying to fill the void where their validation used to be. It is the most lonely sound in the world, a punchline that lands in an empty room. We have all felt a version of this. It is the specific pain of returning to a childhood home and realizing the furniture feels smaller. It's the moment you realize your favorite song from high school is now played on the oldies station. But for most of us, this is a fleeting pang of nostalgia. We feel it, we sigh, and we go back to our current lives. For the Stifler archetype, there is no current life to go back to. The nostalgia is the only place he lives. Imagine waking up every day and having to put on a costume that no longer fits. The leather is too tight. The persona is too heavy. But you can't take it off because underneath that costume, you suspect there is nothing at all. You haven't built a self outside of the performance. This isn't about partying. It's about identity survival. If he stops being the Stiffmeister, he ceases to exist. So he doubles down. He becomes a caricature of a caricature. It's not an act of rebellion anymore. It's an act of preservation. He is holding onto the railing of the Titanic, insisting that the band is still playing, while everyone else has already boarded the lifeboats. It's not funny. It's terrifyingly human. It's the fear that if we stop moving, the weight of everything we've lost will finally catch up to us. You see this pattern echo in other corners of existence. You see it in the aging rock star who still wears the leather pants, dyeing his hair jet black, singing anthems about teenage rebellion to a crowd of people sitting in assigned seats. You see it in the athlete who hangs around the high school gym a little too long after graduation, recounting the game-winning touchdown to kids who weren't born when it happened. It is the refusal to accept the season. Nature demands that things bloom, wither, and die to make room for the new. The Stifler state is an attempt to live in an eternal summer. But an eternal summer is a drought. Nothing grows there. The ground cracks. The water evaporates. When everyone else has moved into the autumn of their lives, harvesting what they planted, preparing for the winter, he is still standing in the sun, burning. He looks at his friends who are tired but content, and he doesn't understand. He thinks they gave up. He doesn't realize that they moved on. He is fighting a war that ended 2 decades ago, guarding a fortress that no one is attacking anymore. Here is the tension, and there are no bad guys in this equation. The friends, Jim, Oz, Kevin, Finch, they aren't wrong for growing up. They aren't wrong for prioritizing stability over chaos. That is the natural order of things. And Stifler isn't wrong for wanting to preserve the magic. He isn't wrong for valuing the bond, the pack, the good old days. His loyalty to the past is, in a way, the purest form of love he knows. The conflict arises because these two values cannot coexist in the same space. You cannot have the wild, consequence-free freedom of youth and the deep, meaningful roots of adulthood. You have to choose. The tragedy is that Stifler thinks he can force them to coexist. He thinks if he just parties hard enough, if he just organizes one more reunion, one more trip, one more shot, he can drag everyone back to that golden hour. He is fighting against time itself, and time is undefeated. The villain isn't his friends, and it isn't him. The villain is the linear nature of existence. As the years pile up, the cracks in the armor become impossible to ignore. The silence in his own house becomes deafening. There is a moment, perhaps off-screen, perhaps implied, where the party ends for real. The last guest leaves. The music stops. He is left alone with the debris. The red cups. The sticky floor. And for the first time, he looks in the mirror and sees the age. He sees the exhaustion. He realizes that he is tired. He is so incredibly tired of being Stifler. But he doesn't know how to be anyone else. He has no practice in vulnerability. He has no vocabulary for "I'm lonely." He only knows "let's do shots." So when the feeling of emptiness rises in his throat, he swallows it down with alcohol. He suppresses it with noise. He calls someone. Anyone. What are we doing tonight? It's a panic response. The silence is the enemy. Because in the silence, the truth waits. The truth that he is the last one at the party, and the lights are about to go out. There is a scene where Stifler looks at a group of actual teenagers. They are doing exactly what he did. They are loud, stupid, invincible. They are the new kings. And he isn't one of them. He isn't their leader. He is the weird older guy. The relic. In that glance, the entire tragedy crystallizes. He realizes he hasn't defeated time. He has just been left behind by it. He is a ghost haunting a high school hallway that doesn't remember his name. The torch wasn't passed, he dropped it, and someone else picked it up and kept running. He is standing still, and the world is rushing past him at terminal velocity. We leave him there. Not fixed, not redeemed, not changed. He might smile. He might crack a joke to an empty room. He might put on his sunglasses to hide the fact that his eyes are tired. The tragedy of the man who never changes isn't that he stays young. It's that he becomes obsolete. He becomes a monument to a moment that everyone else has forgotten. And as we fade out, we are left with the uncomfortable realization that part of us envies him, and part of us pities him. We walked away. We grew up. We are safe. But in the quiet moments of our own adult lives, we wonder if we lost something vital in the trade. Stifler is still there, waiting for the next reunion, waiting for us to come back. But we never will. Not really. And that is the deepest melancholy of all.